What are them sons of fishes up to now?
Fellas, I give you the force trolling motor. It is the most powerful, the most efficient on the water.
Yep. Most powerful. We're really in trouble now.
And it's quiet, too. You can't swim here.
What a dumb.
G'day, Steve Morgan here at Australian Bass Tournaments headquarters, where it is all going on this afternoon. Not only will we be packing prizes like these all day today, just been an electrical storm come through, and we worked out that all of our software doesn't work when we do a system upgrade. So I think we missed the start by a little bit. The key to watching is when you see 3, 4, 5 ads on the start, it means that behind the scenes, we're going crazy to try and get it all working. And the good news is there's no tears on Nicole yet. You got a thumbs up from Nicole? That's not there? One of those is up. Anyway, we're going now. This is being shot through an iPhone 12 because all the camera drivers don't work. And hey, we can make it work. We can always make it work because at ABT we used to run this sort of shit in a paddock. So we're going all right. Great show tonight. It is all about the grand finals. With me tonight in the studio, I have the brag board for the non-boaters. Today on social media, you might have seen the big board full of BREAM Grand Final prizes. Well, let me introduce to you the Bass Pro Grand Final prizes for the non-boaters. Of course, we've got the two great alloy craft boats we can go for the boaters. We've seen them before. We talked about it and you've seen them, but a lot of questions we get, what do the non-boaters get for the Grand Final? Well, we've put together a sponsor pack which reflects lots of our sponsors throughout the year, and it's a bit of a sample of each. And let's just take a little minute or two to go through some of the awesome products on here. I can see 1, 2, 3, 13 fishing concept baitcast reels. There's over $1,000 in reels right there. And that's from the SLZ with the no ball bearings in it, through to the Sport Z that all of the guys got that fish the Queensland Open, and the bottom of the range, the concept. So 13 fishing, naming rights to the Bass Pro Series. You get 3 of those reels. You get one of the Lew's bait casters, some of the Lew's pliers, Lew's cap there, and there's a Lew's spin reel, I think, over there as well. Lew's, of course, sponsor the Lew's Limit. Nick Thompson and the team up at Swell. They look after us really well. Got some Lew's stuff for the non-boater there. And when you look at all of the baits, etc., there's plenty. Got a pair of Maui Jim sunglasses over there that are worth about $400. But we've got some great prizes here from ProLure, from Keytech, from Tackle Tactics, Suffix, Bassman spinnerbaits are all over the joint here. We've got Z-Man, Siglon. We have, whatever we're there, Rapala. We've got some DT Rapala cranks. How good do the ProLure, the shrimps look? Fantastic. Lots of braid from Daiwa through here. There's too much stuff to mention, and it's we had a bit of a poll on what do you thought the BREAM Grand Final stuff was worth this afternoon. Went crazy on social media. Guys, you weren't winning it. You were just having a guess on what it was worth, but I appreciate the 50 or so comments that people having a guess there. This stuff here is worth even more. I've got like nearly $2,000 worth of reels and sunglasses there. So it's look a $3,000 to $4,000 package for the winning non-boater. And because we've only got about 12 or 13 non-boaters entered for the Bass Pro Grand Final, I think nearly everyone gets a kick-ass prize. So don't know why the non-boater numbers at the Grand Final are fairly low, but anyone that's going to go and get into New South Wales and fish that Richmond River is going to be well rewarded for their efforts. This is the last show of 2021. Going to miss the intro music. Nicole's committed to make a new intro for next year's shows. She makes all of those intros, etc. So with some sort of other funky music and funky captures maybe from 2021 that feature on that next year. And it's been a busy end of 2021 for us. You know, we've We've had the help with Owen McPaul and with Brad Ritchie from Bluefin putting together those 2 alloy craft boats that we're giving away in the grand finals. They are now all completed. So just give you a bit of information. We're going in the Gold Coast tomorrow morning to shoot a little bit of video on them, getting some of the Bluefin ambassadors down there to help us shoot that. Those boats look sensational in the water. And dead set with maximum horsepower, I reckon they're going to be reasonably scary as well. 115 on the 4.98 metre alloy craft and that 90 horsepower on the 463, going to be absolute weapons. We've already released the calendars for 2022. They're looking pretty busy, but we're going to get it done. And fingers crossed there's going to be no more border closures. We can run a full set of calendars next year, including grand finals at the end of 2022. So if circumstance got together so that you missed the grand finals now, I know we only had one weekend we could run it, so we've done it. Don't worry, there's more grand finals next year and you can qualify for it there and win some awesome prizes in that as well. Nicole Smith's busy selling sponsorships for next year. She's talking to all of the sponsors, but I can sort of tell you that it's going to be the Daiwa BREAM Series next year. It's going to be the 13 Fishing Bass Pro Series. It's going to be the Zerrick Barra Tour again. All of the naming sponsors for this year thought that was awesome. We're going to do that again. So no really exciting news there because we like to think we do a good job. You guys support the series fantastically, and that's great to have all those sponsors supporting us and then coming back for more. Normally we'd be just selling sponsorship now. Last weekend would have been the BREAM Grand Final at Port Stephens if COVID hadn't thrown us the curveball, and we'd be doing it all at a canter, but it's all a bit of a sprint here at the moment. So thanks to everyone who got their entry forms in for the grand final. We are locked and loaded there to have a fantastic weekend next weekend. Lots more details about that in this show. We're going to give 2 prizes tonight. I've got so many pro lures to give away, including some of these great fishtail shads. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 2 packs with both about 5 packs of the fishtail shads in there. They've got their awesome looking live crays. I don't know if you can see that, but the live crays look sensational. We've got a few packs of that, and their paddle tails. They call them the paddle grubs. So there you go. There we go. There's a pack of those we're going to give away, as in a whole big pack of each. We're going to give one away on Facebook, one away on YouTube, and we know you guys know how to enter this thing. You got to tell us where you're from and where you're watching it from. We have people watching this from all over the joint, all over Australia. Put it in the comments below. Someone on Facebook's going to win a pack. Someone on YouTube's going to win a pack. So get your entries down there. We're going to draw those at the end of the show. Tonight's show, of course, all about the grand finals. In the BREAM side, we've caught up with Simon Goldsmith during the week. You might have loved Simon's commentary on the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open this year. Who could forget that event when Mick Colatouris catches his PB to take the title? And we've got Jamie McEwen, who was the 2021 BREAM Angler of the Year. He came in studio to tell us his thoughts about what's going to happen in the grand final. But we haven't forgotten about the bass guys. We're going to do the bass guys first. We've got Joey Urquhart, the world's most wanting to fish the grand final man there is. He didn't qualify for it, unfortunately. And it's a pretty sad story because he probably would have qualified if he wasn't running some of the events. But we're pretty harsh at ABT. We didn't let him fish. He's going to help us with some of the coverage down there, and he's going to help us with some of the commentary tonight about what he thinks is going to happen. And we've caught up with the leader of the Bass Pro Angler of the Year, Matty Langford. I think he thought he had it in the bag, but we let him know that it's best 4 events for Bass Pro AOI, and we only fished 3, so the grand final counts. He's still got a good advantage, but it is his to lose there at the grand final this weekend. So Matty Langford's going to talk about his experience at the grand final. Let's have a look at some of the slides that tell us what sort of coverage and how it's all going to work next weekend. Let's start off with the bass. We'll go to the bass slide there and go through some of the logistics of how it's going to happen. We've got live scoreboards for the entire event on the ABT website. That's because the event is being run on the ABT Tournament Series app. Now, grand final, that's not a typo, 17th and 18th of December. That's a Friday and a Saturday. Remember, we've had to fit these 2 grand finals into one part of the country in one weekend, so it's Friday and Saturday, the coverage for the bass. And the BREAM is the Sunday and the Monday. The final presentation, we'll broadcast that. It'll be at about 1:45 Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. At Coracai Beach and reception pending, we'll broadcast the winner of the Alloy Craft Boat and Mercury Motor Package just before we pack up and rush down to the briefing for the BREAM Grand Final. So you can watch it there. We'll have cameras on all the boats like we normally do. We'll have the highlights videos at the end of each sessions. We'll be burning the midnight oil to get those fellas up. And of course, Nicole will put together a fantastic photo galleries of Wayne's glory photos, starts. Nearly had Santa Claus coming down a river in the boat. There'll be a photo there, but that got canned during the week. It's going to be great. Follow the action, mainly hubbed on our website, which is abt.org.au, and our Facebook page, Australian Bass Tournaments, as you're probably watching this on at the moment. All of the highlights, of course, go on our YouTube channel. If you might be watching this on the YouTube channel, ABT Tournaments on YouTube. You can see all of our event visual coverage and all of these live shows hubbed there as well. But let's get stuck into it. We caught up with Joey Urquhart, and he's going to tell us all about what to expect this weekend on a reasonably high-flowing Richmond River.
Well, here he is. He is the most popular man in the Richmond River Valley at the moment, ever since the anglers worked out that Joseph Urquhart wasn't fishing the Richmond River Grand Final. Mate, I bet you have been hit up by anglers left, right and centre about how this river is going to fish come the Grand Final.
Yeah, I think we just discussed there was 29 anglers, and I think I've had 28 messages. So, and look, a lot of the guys are just interested in knowing, hey, is the river going to be fishable? What's the height like, and what's the water like? That's been the general consensus, the most asked question.
And we thought we would save everyone else that effort, and we would ask you on the show tonight, mate. So I know we've had a bit of a rise through the river; it's come up and gone down. You know, a bit of fresh water's come down that place, but hey, bass live in fresh water. I want a bit of a Richmond River update from Joseph Urquhart, the man who just missed the bass cat all those years ago.
Yeah, Steve, you're right. We have had a hell of a lot of water down the river. I think last week when we spoke, the river just tipped to 10 metres, which 10 metres is a lot of water coming down our river. The only thing that has saved the ABT Grand Final is there wasn't much water coming down the Wilson River. So what's happened is that's allowed that Richmond River water to get away really quick. If the Wilson had backed up, it would have held the Richmond up and we'd still be at probably 5 or 6 metres right now. So, yeah, only thing that saved us is that the rain really was in the hills. So the floods come from up high. It hasn't been a sort of a coastal flood, which in that aspect has been quite good. There's no sugarcoating it. It's mud. It's going to be an absolute mud fest out there. But like you said, fish are still got to eat. And someone is going to whack them. It's going to be the sort of thing, if you catch one, you're not just going to catch one. They're going to be stacked up in that little area for a reason, whether it's a back eddy, a big snag out of the current. You could bag out in 5 casts. It's going to be as simple as that. And it's quite exciting. I'm devo that I can't fish because when the river is in flood like this, it concentrates those fish. You might not find a fish in 5 kilometres and then all of a sudden you find them overload because it's just out of the current a little bit. Because just remembering, all the anglers have to remember, there will be no pushing tide this whole time. Like, we're still in flood now, so it'll be run out tide all weekend. So those fish will be set up in little areas, and most likely you'll get quite a big concentration of them.
How much now with that fresh water pushing down the river and no running tides? How far down the river do you think is going to play this tournament? Like normally, you might say Woodburn might pull it up. Do you reckon it'll fish well all the way down?
I don't think so. Only reason is it's the time of year. Like if this flood was at the other end of the year, earlier in the year when the fish are wanting to go down to spawn, you could catch them on the breakwall at Ballina. But given the time, and I've had my finger on the pulse of these fish moving the last few months, and the minute that river come up, you might have seen some of the photos I put up on the ABT Angler page. The river come up about a metre and I caught giants and they went. They were in the beginning of that first rise and all those big fish that haven't been up the river for 4 or 5 years, they're gone. So I don't think down the river will play. I think Woodburn, they live there all year round, but I think the main river is really going to be a big key area, finding them little tributaries that come in that are clean. Keeping in mind, we haven't had the rain down the river, so any of them little side creeks will be cleaner than the main river. They'll still be mud, but just a different shade.
So let's go on from then. What sort of techniques can we expect competitors to use in this grand final? Like if Joey was fishing it, what tackle would you have on your deck and what would your tactics be?
Basically, I'd have 2 rods on the deck all weekend. That would be it. I'd have a surface lure tied on. Now, either one of my own fizzes I'd probably have on early, but with that flood water, I'd definitely pick up a buzz bait just because you're covering ground. My fizzes and stuff are good when you know there's fish in an area and you can work it slow, but when you're trying to find the fish, nothing covers water like a buzz bait. You can stick that electric motor on 10, power along a bank parallel, and you can really find those fish. That's just the Bassman one there. White, in dirty water, either like bright white or black. It's that contrast. So I just like to go the white. And then the other rod I'd have up on the deck would just have a Bassman spinnerbait on it. When the water's clear, I prefer to go a smaller spinnerbait. I like the Carl Compact because it's nice and small. But given you want as much vibration and flash and the river's dirty, I've just gone to the TW there. It's just a little bit bigger. It's got a bigger willow blade on the top there. So it's just going to throw out a bit more flash and it's going to bring those fish in a little bit. Show them where the lure is a little bit easier. But yeah, I'd literally have two rods, a spinnerbait and a surface lure, and that'd be my weekend.
There you go. And we all know that you catch big fish. We all remember the Crazy Legs incident of the last grand final. You're getting super excited when you catch that 50-centimetre fork length fish there. Now, the cool thing about the Bass Grand Final, it's only 2 days, but it is all on the ABT Tournament Series app, which means that both you and anyone watching this show can click in on the Friday and Saturday and follow the action fish by fish by fish. Now, some of the consequences of the app are, firstly, there's no legal size. So, your 5 fish can all be, under the legal size because you just measure them, photo, let them go. The second thing is you're going to be able to see other people's scores. Now, I don't know how you go if you fish many app events, but how do you think that's going to screw with some of the guys' minds knowing that other people may have found a mother load of fish and got their 5 in the box already before you've got a bite?
Yeah, firstly, I'm pretty upset that I can't fish because I've always wanted to fish this style of event. It really suits the way I fish, chasing those long, skinny, active fish, not them big, schooled up fish. So, yeah, pretty devoted. I can't try that app out in the river. But I think people got to realise that this is all about strategy more than anything. You only need 5 bites. Like, you don't need to catch 100 fish and try and get the heaviest one. Like, it's all on length. You only need 5 bites. I think covering water is the key. And, yeah, 100%. If you see like someone down the river's caught like 4 550s or 40s or something like that, you're like, yeah, of course it's going to play on your mind. If it was me, I wouldn't even look. I'd just fish, put the stuff in the app, but I wouldn't even look. And I think that way you can stick to your plan and you're not going to get thrown off with what everyone else is doing and stick to your gut and do what you think's going to work. And you may not need 10 fish to win this. That's the thing. If someone stumbles onto one of those honey holes, yeah, they'll easily get their 10 from 10, but hey, if you get a couple of really good fish each day, you're definitely going to give us a show.
And, of course, we convert those lengths to weights on ABT's length weight curve. So a 50-centimetre fish might be worth 2.5 kilos. A 30-centimetre fish might only be worth half a kilo. So you find a big fish is worth 5 times a little fish, and it's the same on the BREAM and the Barra. Any of those tournaments where we do a length weight curve definitely pays to catch bigger fish. That said, what's your expectation of a good bag? What would you be happy with bringing in this event? Like, what sort of range of fish?
If the river wasn't like it was now, going on what we were seeing just before, I said that you need 540s a day, and I think I mentioned that to you. I was pretty comfortable that I could go out there and get 5 40-centimetre fish a day off what I saw. Now, I think you're definitely still going to need 2 or 3 of them per day and maybe just a couple of mid-30s. So maybe like an average of, say, 38. If you have an average of 38 centimetres and you get your 10 from 10, I think you might have a new set of boat keys in your hand.
There you go. And that's a weight of approximately, in that 4.5 to 5 kilos a day bag, you're going to be sitting right up there.
The only thing is, like, the fish were really well conditioned before this, but what can happen is you get really well-conditioned fish and you get a massive flow of water. Now, those fish have swum their little bums off for a week. And it's like you or I, if we go to the gym every day for a week, like, the weight just peels off. So it's the same as these fish. So luckily it's not going to affect the tournament because it's not a weight thing. The fish doesn't shrink just because he's swimming up the river. So the fish are going to be a little bit skinnier, I think, but just because of the amount of work they've been doing over the last couple of weeks.
Have you been to the gym 5 days in a row?
I don't think I've been to the gym 5 days of my life.
I've never even been to a gym anyway. Joey, I really appreciate that insight to you. We're doing the briefing for this event. It's going to be on the Thursday night at your store in Casino. I think we've got a bit of catering organised as well for everyone. What you look after ABT anglers in the store, and tell us about the assortment of local baits that you've got. I think you've got a fairly unique set of baits that work in the Richmond.
Yeah, 100%, Steve. Any ABT angler that comes in and makes a purchase like over the weekend they're here, they get their automatic 10% off their purchases. all their fishing gear, they can get 10% off. So we try and look after you guys for coming and looking after us. We try and have a range of lures that might not necessarily see in other tackle stores. We have a big range of crankbaits. We have a big range. I know there's a lot of DTs in there, Rapala stuff. We stock a lot of that balsa stuff because we have a bit of a thing with timber baits. There's a lot of Australian. Just get rid of that off there. There's a lot of Australian timber lures in there as well. People might not even know exist. We have a lot of American handcrafted timber lures in there, little crankbaits. We have a massive Bassman spinnerbait range, which I've put a lot of time into getting it stocked up ready because I think that's going to be the key bait for next weekend. You name it, we've got it in there. Spinnerbait, trailer hooks, leader, everything you guys are going to need. If you forget something at home, leave it at home. Don't worry, we'll have it. And even if you've forgotten your tent or your swag or your sleeping bag, whatever it may be, we'll have it in the store.
Yeah, it definitely is a one-stop shop for any Northern Rivers perch fisherman that wants to go out that way. See, I grew up in that sort of area fishing. I know you call them perch if you're a local.
Yeah, you only call them perch if you eat them. They're bass if you let them go, and they're perch if you neck them.
Name change when the spike goes in the head.
Yeah, it's funny. People come into the shop, and if they ask for a perch spot, I usually don't tell them too much. But if they ask for a bass spot, they're good to go.
Yeah, good stuff. Now, you've had a little bit of a scan of the entry lists, and I know we've got previous Richmond River Grand Final champions like Brian Everingham there. We've got the list is like a who's who in the boater side of bass tournaments. Plenty of tournament and grand final winners there. Who would be your number one pick to take this event out this weekend? Let's put one down on paper now and see how you go.
I think given the way the river's fishing, local knowledge is going to be everything because you know where little bucketties are, you know which drains had rain last week. You're going to know all of that stuff that the other competitors aren't going to know. So 100%, I've said this from day dot. Walshy Dylan, he's my number one pick. I think he knows that river as well as anybody does, and he fishes it totally different to what I would probably fish it. But he catches big fish, and he knows that all those little nooks and crannies, and that's what it's going to take to win this. Is anyone can stumble onto those spots, but he's got the upper hand because he knows where they are and he can race straight there. So yeah, he's definitely my number one pick, and I think someone like Greg Burke as well. He'd be definitely up there. He's a quiet achiever, Greg, but a cracking fisherman on the Richmond River, and he gets out there a lot, and he definitely knows his stuff. So he'd definitely be up there in my picks as well.
I heard he's shaved down for the grand final, mate. He's looking like he's sporting a short head of hair at the moment.
A little bit more speed.
Give him that out in the river.
Yeah. If I had to round out the top three, I'd have to put Billy Rose in there, pure and simply because that boat's got mojo and that boat goes where no other boat goes, and Bill knows how to get it in there. So he might be a bit of a dark horse, I think. Billy's been fishing a little bit, and I think just because his boat's going to be an advantage, he's going to get into some places others won't get into.
Now, anyone that's fishing the 13 Fishing Bass Pro Grand Final would have got a text message during the week, and if you didn't, let us know because we must have your mobile phone number wrong. It says there's an extra gift for everybody at the sign-up at Casino Outdoors and Disposals at Joey's shop there. And I'm going to let you on a little secret what it is. See this Rapala shirt here? This was the one that everyone got in the Queensland Open. Hood on it. It's got a built-in head sock buff, thumb holes, sun protection. It's not one of these, but it's exactly the same shirt with 13 fishing on it. So it's the 13 fishing make your own luck shirt. It's like a marbled colour on there. They're worth about $90 in the shops. Every single competitor in the Bass Pro Grand Final gets one of those as well. So not only for your $200 entry fee, do you get a chance to win some fantastic prizes. Everyone goes home with one of these ABT shirts. This is the year's ABT shirts that everyone in the Barra Tour got, everyone in the BREAM and Brass Grand Final is going to get, and everyone in the BKK Hooks Bass Electric Grand Final come next February is going to get one of those as well. So thanks to the guys at Rapala 13 Fishing for sponsoring, for giving all the awesome gifts, and for contributing to the massive prize pool. We do have a great set of sponsors at ABT that let us do what we do. Next on, we have the man who has nearly, and I say nearly, won the Bass Pro Angler of the Year this year. He catches them wherever he goes, unless that place is Wivenhoe. But let's get him on now. Matty Langford Rapala and 13 fishing sponsored angler. Going to hope to ride that sponsor karma in the grand final. Let's catch up with him.
So here he is. He's the 2020 Bass Angler of the Year, and he was very nearly the 2021 Bass Angler of the Year, but circumstances have changed, and they've made him wait a little bit longer to see if he can secure that title. Matty Langford, welcome to Live.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this last round. Should be good.
I must admit, there was you were the most gentlemanly ever to make a complaint to ABT because when AOY is written on the rules as your best 4 events for the year and we only got 3 qualifiers done, it was like, oh, we're going to have to maybe include the grand final to get to the 4 events. And you skirted around it pretty nicely, but I was pretty harsh in the way I delivered the information. No, mate, you better do good at the grand final.
You said something along the lines of don't suck at the grand final. You should be fine.
Yeah, that's right, mate. And look, we got a field of around 30 boats there for the grand final down on the Richmond River. So we got to go back to the venue. It's not exactly at the time of the year we planned it, but one thing I've learned since COVID started, you had better be an adaptable angler because ABT will go and run an event when and how we can to get you on the water, and it tests everyone's skills, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I think we did the Clarence under, some people were saying that Clarence was going to be no good, but we brained them on the Clarence. So hopefully the Richmond's going to be the same. And yeah, different time of year than what we usually fish it, but it opens up so many more cool techniques. And yeah, it should be awesome. People will catch them everywhere, I think. So be keen to see.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it as well. Got myself a jersey I think we worked out, I only caught 1 or 2 fish. I got in because I was in 2 events that were cancelled. And the one event at Cania I fished, my non-boater caught more fish than I did. So I don't think you're going to be a threat of me being higher than you. But I did catch my first bass ever in Wilson's River, which is in behind Lismore there. So a bit of local knowledge. And all I know is there is a shitload of country to fish in the Richmond.
Yeah. It's amazing how much there is. People that don't know it, you've got all the way down to Ballina, all the way up to nearly Casino. You've got so many sidearms, and then you've got all the way up to or up past Lismore, up the Richmond and Wilson rivers. So it's a huge area, and 30 boats. There's guys that are not going to see too many other people. So yeah, it's a great venue, and we'll be able to stretch out, and we'll be able to run those motors pretty good and get to somewhere where no one else is, hopefully.
The other thing that comes into play with the grand final is there's a couple of things. One is it's an app-based event. So, and we're doing that because it's not a shared weight event like normal. We had to do that because we never knew what number boaters and non-boaters we were going to get with the Fish 3 events and you're in qualification. So as it is, there are a lot more boaters than non-boaters. But with an app event, there's no minimum size as well. So what was your legal fish to undersized fish ratio last time you were down there?
I think last time I was down there, it was pretty good. I know last time was in wintertime, and we got a good bite on low and high tide in the middle of the river. And I fished with Mitch Petty. I think the Sunday, I reckon we would have caught 70 or 80 bass. And there was a few undersized, but I couldn't imagine putting that many fish into an app.
Well, you'll know what your biggest 5 are, and I'm sure the upgrades will go in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it's a different concept to what we'd usually do. But for the timing, especially being hot, it's probably going to be the best thing to, grab photos and put them back in there and keep fishing. It should be good.
Yeah, that's it. It's release at the point of capture. We don't have any of those fish care issues that can crop up in the warmer months.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, and I think this is really cool, people watching the event can log on to the live scoreboard and they can see how you're either thriving or sucking during the day and follow the ebb and flow of the angler's success. And that's everyone who puts stuff in the app, you all go on the live scoreboard. For instance, at Kinchin Dam for the Barra event that we had that was live, thousands and thousands of people log onto that live scoreboard. You will be surprised at how many people are following you at the Bass Grand Final.
Yeah, it should be good. I thought you were going to mention the app at Wivenhoe when you caught them on the Sunday, and I didn't.
Oh, well, I was, but you're stealing my thunder there. I was gonna say you might want to follow me for Wivenhoe fishing tips because I'm a self-proclaimed king of Wivenhoe in the Bass Open. I'm not the king of Somerset. I'll give you that one. You, Mick Johnson, Killer, You're all good at that, but yeah, bring on the brim size fish, mate.
Yeah.
And look, let's face it, that event, that live event on the app at Somerset Wyvern had thousands of people logging onto the scoreboard as well. So for us, you know, it's great to have a weigh-in, but if it's a bit dodgy on the fish, like in the middle of summer, let's do the right thing by the fish because they're the reason we're there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and like you said, it's amazing. Like even during the comp, you know, you're not allowed to have you have your phone to take the photo on the app and stuff, but people are messaging you, you know, saying pull your finger out or, you know, keep going or whatever. But yeah, it's amazing the amount of people that, you know, they follow it second by second or minute by minute and can keep up to date with it. So yeah, I reckon it's great.
I think it was great to have some retribution on Carl because how many times have you stayed up at night refreshing Bass Track to see how he's gone? It's like, now hey, Wivenhoe, Carl, you refresh it. Carl, they're saying, oh, Matty's phone's broken, obviously.
Yeah. No, it's good. But that you're right. I don't know how many times I've been up watching him. So, yeah.
He was watching, mate. He followed you on the first and second day. I don't know if you talked to him, but he was definitely following the action from over there.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good to see. And hopefully, hopefully with this one, we'll get a lot of people tuned in because, you know, it's a big event. Not only is it AOY, you know, we could potentially win this boat. So it's going to be real good.
Let me tell you, the boat is finished. It's sitting in our shed here at Fishing Monthly. It is being looked after because my boat is out under the carport in the weather, so I'm not really happy about that. But that's Alleycraft bluefin. It's got the 115 Merc Pro SS. Owen McPaul from OMP Styles been in there, and he has rigged it up perfectly. Got a power pole on the back, got a Garmin Force on the front, got a HTS 12 in it, and it is ready to go. Like Dad said, you can turn the key and leave your boat in the river and drive away and fish tournaments. It's we're really proud of the effort that all of the guys, all of the sponsors, Brad from Bluefin, everyone's had to put it together. And this year, we looked after the bass guys. We had good numbers in bass last year, so we gave the bigger of the boats to the bass this year. So one of the 30 boaters in that event is going to win.
Yeah, and there's going to be everyone's going to be battling out for it too. I was talking to my wife the other day about it. You know, it'd be awesome to win it. You could either, you know, park it next to your other boat in the shed, or, you know, it's totally up to you. But it's a great prize, and to have an opportunity, you know, to win a boat like that, it's going to be awesome. So we'll all be battling it out on that those couple of days on the Richmond to get it done.
Now, I don't know if you remember the last time the grand final was on the Richmond, but it was a pretty close weigh-in come the last bit. Brian Everingham and Joey Urquhart battled it out, and we all remember the photo of Joey and Brian. It's one of the classic ABT images.
Yeah, for old Joey. I'm sure he'd have to be one of the favourites being a local, but I'm sure he'd love some retribution this comp too. But
well, he's not in it.
Oh, isn't he?
No.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I didn't know that. But yeah. And he does his lures too, so I'm sure they'll be popular down there. He's building for that river.
Yeah, look, and we're having the briefing, of course, is at Casino Outdoors and Disposal. That's Joey's store. He has got all the lures of work sitting on the wall. So, you know, I think there's catering on that night. There's a few drinks, and there'll be plenty of money spent in that shop getting the local secret lures, I think. So, mate, it's a great. I'm excited that the grand final is accessible to all of the people that want to follow it live. Like, the app technology is good. People love it in the Barra Tour. People loved it in the Rapala Queensland Open. And there's 13 fishing Bass Pro Grand Final. There is going to be some serious following for it. Last quick comment I've got is the sponsor Karma Train. You're sponsored by Rapala and 13 Fishing, and they're great sponsors of the ABT Bass Tour with the Queensland Open, the Australian Open, the 13 Fishing Bass Pro Series. How important do you think that sponsor Karma is? You're gonna make sure you're using the sponsor product most of the time?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, the greatest thing is, I think, with the way that we normally fish up here in the guiding, we usually use a lot of spin gear, but the Richmond and the Wilson, where we're going to be, is going to be 99% probably bait cast, and that's where the 13 reels are really going to, you know, shine for me, because I guess I don't use them as much as I'd like to. Now we can, because our dams are full and there's heaps of flooded structure here. So we've been able to use them this past week. But, down there, you've got your little crankbaits, your BX brats, your DTs, all that sort of stuff's going to come in. So not only 13 fishing reels are going to get used, the Rapala lures, Bassman spinnerbaits, all that stuff. It's all going to be used too. But I think sponsor Karma will definitely, hopefully, run my way anyway.
There you go. Well, that's awesome, mate. And one final thing before you leave, give us a bit of an update of your local dams. You're based at Kingaroy, so I see there's been a bit of an inflow into Boondooma and Bajoki.
Yeah, it's been awesome. About 3.5 weeks ago, Boondooma was at 24%. I went about 2 weeks ago and was at 48%, and I thought that was great. But now Boondooma is now spilling over, so it's about 100.4% and spilling, which is fantastic. And then Bjorky Peterson Dam, which got as low 2.5 years ago, it was down to 3%. So, we were starting to hold back on fish stocking for BP, but it's now at 95%. It's almost lapping the spillway now. So, as far as water security goes, Boondooma, we've got 8 to 10 years there, and then BP, we've got at least 5 to 6 if it doesn't rain again. So water security is going to be massive. But the greatest thing is BP is one of those dams. It's just Boondooma's always great, but BP is one of those dams that can potentially just be one of the best dams in Australia. So it's good to see it full.
It's I tell you, and people that are worried about losing fish out of the lakes, it's all happened at the right time of the year. Bass tend to run downstream in winter time. During summer, they tend to run upstream. So you might lose some fish out of the lakes. Yeah,
that's right. That's exactly right. Same with the yellers. The running water, they'll be running up into the current to spawn. So everything's come at a perfect time. So touch wood, and I think it will happen. I'm pretty sure we'll get some more inflow, but I'm thinking along the same lines as you that we won't lose that many. But, if we happen to, we've got real good stocking programs in both dams, and there's a positive future for both dams.
Have you done the sums on AOY? How much do you have to beat anybody by to be? What do you have to come to make sure you guarantee it?
I've just got to be. I've got to be top 10. I've got to. I think the next one down from me is
Chris or Mike.
Who's that? Sorry, Chris
Mike Nelson?
I think Mike Nelson's closest. I think he's about 7 points behind. So, like you said, I just got to not suck. I just got to make sure.
You've got a couple of serious river rats behind you there, mate.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Those guys are definitely river rats. But I'm confident. Like, I'm not going in there I'm not worried about it at all, because I've fished the Richmond and the Wilson quite a bit. I know what I've got to do. I've just got to go and spend that time on Friday, look around and make sure I've got, good areas I'm getting bites, and then I've just got to catch them. But yeah, I think it should be okay. It should be exciting. It should be an exciting weekend, but I've just got to make sure that I catch them. As simple as that. But I'm going to try and win that boat too. So by the end of it, hopefully I'm particularly up there with the AOY points. It should be good.
No, mate, it'd be a good problem to have. How do I get 2 boats home with 1 tow bar? Don't worry, we'll sort that out later on, mate. Thanks for joining us on ABT Live. Look forward to catching up with you in the flesh down there on the Richmond.
Yeah, thanks for having me. See you soon.
So there you go. How topical was it that we had a Daiwa bait junkie ad before this little competition here? This is our second competition of the night, and it's the only way that people who aren't in an ABT event in the short term are going to be accessing Daiwa bait junkie new colours. Now, I've got a bit of a preview here. This is the new colour Daiwa bait junkie. It's a laminate colour. Looks pretty cool. I'm going to pull one out of the packet here now as well. I'm not showing what the name of the colour is because I don't think you know the name of it, and I think that you're going to have some fun trying to name it. So Again, there's the, there it is there. Laminate colour, sort of brownie on the top, pinky down below. And there he is. So you've seen it now. I want you to, I'm going to give away some of the packets of this, maybe 2 or 3 packets of both the Bait Junkie Minnow and the Grub in this new colour. Hint, every single, well, it's not a hint, every single competitor in the Daiwa BREAM Grand Final is going to get 4 packets of these at the briefing of the event. So they're going to be up to the hilt, and I guarantee the BREAM and the Clarence have never seen this colour before. So great timing by Tommy Slater and the team at Daiwa to get these in the hands at the right time. But what would you call this colour? I want something inventive, something exciting. I don't draw the comp. Nicole draws it. So what's her level of humour? Who knows? But something exciting there. It doesn't matter if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Put in the comments below what you're going to call this colour. And we'll tell you what Daiwa have called it later on. I don't know if there's a special prize for knowing what it is and matching it. In fact, I reckon you can name it better than Daiwa's named it. So there we go. That leads us into talking about the Daiwa BREAM Grand Final at the Clarence. We haven't been there for 6 or 7 years. Liam Carruthers won last time we were there on the boater side, and he won himself, I think it was a 115 horsepower Mercury Optimax motor. Guess what? Mercury Optimaxes don't exist anymore. They've been surpassed by their 4-stroke outboards. In that case, it's a 2.1 litre mid-range 4-stroke that does everything better than the Optimax, including burn no oil. But we caught up with a bit of, well, ABT's longest-serving staff member, to be honest, Simon Goldsmith, during the week, and we got some of his thoughts about how he thought, or how he thinks, the Daiwa BREAM Grand Final is going to play out. Let's talk to Simon. And I may add before we start, old timers here, tell me if he doesn't look like Holly in Red Dwarf, the computer. Let's play it.
Here we go. You last saw this man commenting the Daiwa BREAM Australian Open on Sydney Harbour, and what a high we left it on. Simon Goldsmith, how cool was BREAM fishing this year when the last interaction you had with it was Michael Colatouris catching a PB to win the Australian Open?
Yeah, it was definitely one of the highlights of the year. Certainly for me, from getting back into the fold and being involved around tournaments. To geez, what a way to make a comeback.
You know that if we get you to do that again next year, your KPIs are going to be through the roof because everyone had to catch their PB while on live camera. But Mick was good at it. Every time he crossed to Mick, he seemed to catch a kilo fish.
I was getting phone calls from him like 2 months afterwards saying, "Can you call me on the phone on a Sunday? I've got a tournament and I want to win." So I was like his lucky rabbit's foot.
Of course, you've been doing a lot of work with that Daiwa since you've left ABT, and it all came neatly together in that Australian Open. We thought we'd get you on live tonight to talk about the upcoming Daiwa BREAM Series Grand Final. It's at a massive river venue that you've had a lot to do with over the past. You would have remembered the old days when we ran the Super Series events with 70-plus boats, a $10,000 first prize, really pumping out of the small town of McLean. Well, guess what? We're going to be back there at the McLean Showgrounds doing a drive-through weigh-in, bringing back some of the old-time weighing vibes, mate. How does that make you feel?
Man, that's awesome. We went to a lot of different venues over my 14-odd years with ABT, but if I had to pick a favourite, I'd probably say Clarence was it. And I wasn't alone. The anglers loved it. And, the fields that we used to get were enormous, especially for those Super Series events that you used to talk about. And it was popular for me and for the anglers because it's such a good fishery and it's so big and diverse. It just ticks so many boxes.
We nearly had a situation where we were going to put the Bass and the BREAM Grand Final on the same river, but we thought there may be a bit too much overlap and a bit too much problem. But I really love the idea of the fact that we could run one out of Grafton and then one out of McLean. Now, what we've got you on tonight, though, for is to have a look at this entry list. I've got the entry list printed out here. We've got 30 boaters and 30 non-boaters fishing, and I know that some of these will be old and familiar names to you, but some will be new names. But I need to get a bit of a Simon Goldsmith, bit of a form guide, because you know how the river fishes. It's had a little bit of fresh down it recently, so it's not going to be crystal clear all the way to Grafton. And I want you to mix some of that historical knowledge with a few tips, because the guys, they won't be able to watch this live. It's not an app-based event. We're going to have a live weigh-in each day. So, come New South Wales, 2 p.m. in the afternoon, you're going to see 30 boats roll through in the McLean Showgrounds. We'll be live streaming the weigh-ins with the scoreboards, etc. But I really want the Daiwa ABT combined knowledge of you there to tell me who's going to shine in the grand final. And let me tell you, some of these guys here are going to want to know that as well, that you expect them to do well. So I think the best way to do it is we'll look at the non-boaters first. We'll save the boaters for next. And I want you to pick a couple of names in that non-boater list that you from your viewing of ABT, are going to be the ones to watch.
Okay, it's a pretty talent-stacked field that we got here. A lot of past champions, and a lot of guys who still perform really well, today, even though they've been on the tour for a very long time. Now, when it comes to non-boaters, as it has been for quite some time, there's one name that you always look to first, and of course that is Stewie Walker. Yeah. A brave man would bet against Stewie. I wouldn't. So he would be my pick. Andrew Williams is above him. Andrew's been fishing the tournaments for a long time, for well over a decade, so he's potentially due as well too. And one thing that I did find quite noteworthy was that we have a lot of Victorians in the field too. And one of them that I would be looking out for is Jesse Roten. Now, Jesse is fresh from the Vic BREAM Classic Grand Final a few weeks ago, where he did well down there. Jesse's another guy that I would definitely be looking at. So, more familiar with catching black bream rather than yellowfin, but he's a good angler, so he's always going to put the fish in the well.
How about the fact that Jesse's also a Daiwa-sponsored angler, and there's this thing called Sponsor Karma, which always comes out and plays a factor. I know Stewie uses the Daiwa gear. He's got the old Daiwa Silver Wolves there that he relies on all the time, but Jesse, you'd have to have a bit of a Sponsor Karma advantage there with.
Oh, absolutely. We've seen it so many times over the years, haven't we, Steve? That the event or series naming sponsor, their anglers do well. So there's another reason to put a dodgy dollar on Jesse.
Now let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of the non-boater. Previously, and I think nearly every BREAM Grand Final we've ever run has had a shared weight event, and the theory behind that was was you're fishing for a big boat. I don't want any discord on the boat. I don't want the non-boater caught my fish, thrown over each other's lines. Usually doesn't happen. In normal events that doesn't happen. But we've got a $50,000 boat on the line in this grand final. The change we have made this year, though, and because we didn't know that with COVID, with the numbers were going to be equal or not, is the non-boaters are fishing for 3 bream. My feeling is that's going to tighten the field up a lot, and it'll come down to who bags a couple of kicker fish to make their 6-fish limit something above everyone else's.
Yeah, absolutely. Like shared weight tournaments, especially for the grannies and for the non-boaters, I suppose in some ways it's much about the draw as it is how good you are as an angler, because generally the winning non-boater has fished with the winning boater or a boater who's placed really well. That's gone now. So the nonnies are on their own. They've got to catch their own fish. And as you say, when you go from 5 to 3, it's going to tighten that field down. The cream will always rise to the top because they just catch bigger fish as well as more fish. But yeah, it's going to make for an interesting and a different grand final.
The non-boaters are fishing for what we call an epic sponsor pack. All of their ABT sponsors that they've worked with during the year, we've put together a pack that is kick-ass. Our kitchen boardroom table in Fishing Monthly office here was literally covered in all the prizes that they're going to win. And we've got a big board, which is probably around nearly 2 metres wide and 1.5 metres high, where we're going to display all of that product. So even though the boaters win a boat, the non-boaters win a pretty handy selection of tackle, and I think that includes one of the new might have been one of the new Luvius Arides. Is that what's the
yeah we've recently had a Luvius Aride come out.
Yeah, there's some of them there. It's like the cream of the crop. So the non-boater might be winning a boat, but they are going to be stuffing their tackle bags full come the end of that tournament if they win it. So they'll be good to hit up for a loan of a lure.
Well, they'll be all set for the start of the 2022 season.
Oh yes. And look, the other reason that I suppose I wanted to make the change is the fact that I recognise that it is harder from the back of the boat. Imagine being a non-boater fishing behind Chris Hickson like a human vacuum cleaner. It's harder to catch fish when you're not having first shot at anything. So I think that a 3-fish rather than a 5-fish limit is more reflective of the level of ability required to catch them, because I'd hate to fish behind me. I hate to fish behind some of those other guys as well, and I just know they're at a natural sort of disadvantage. Yeah,
absolutely. It's hard fishing anglers dirty water, especially when it's the dirty water of, arguably the best brimmers in Australia. Yep. Yourself and Chris Hickson. I don't want to fish behind you guys.
Yeah. Let's switch to the boater list. The grand final prize is a 463 alloy craft, manufactured by Bluefin. It's got a 90 horsepower Mercury on the back. It's got a Power Pole Sportsman. It's got a Lowrance Live HTS 12 in it. It's got a hydrowave on it. It's got a Motor Guide XI5 electric, and it's fully kitted out with the Green Marine lithium batteries, both cranking battery and 24-volt battery, on a trailer ready to go. It is a turnkey tournament package worth, must be around $50,000. I haven't actually calculated the amount yet. 1 in 30 chance of winning it if you're a boater. And I know I've got at least 3 previous grand final winners there. My question to you is, ABT BREAM has never had a 2-time grand final winner. Is this going to be the year, or is it stacked too heavily against the previous winners?
Yeah, we've had it 3 times. Well, we've had a 3-time winner in the Bass, which was Matthew Mott. Like you say, never had it in the BREAM, which has really surprised me. Every year I think, yeah, we'll do it this year, but we just keep unearthing a new champion. So, we're going to get to it soon where we're going to talk about some of my tips for the boaters. I think we will see it this year. Somebody will finally break through and win 2 events.
According to my knowledge, we've got the 2000, it was either 2004 or 2005, on a North Coast river, Steve Duff won himself a Skeeter Evan Reed package back in the day.
2006 on the Richmond, yep.
2006 was it? And he won it crankbaiting in dirty water.
Yeah.
Steve Duff. And he still fishes in that boat today.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it?
Amazing. We've got our most recent and current grand final winner, Tristan Taylor, who is eminently adaptable to any arena. He's fishing there as well. He won on the Gold Coast, and I'm pretty sure he's done fairly well in the Clarence before. Very strong around the seawalls, that lower river sort of fishing.
Correct. Now, we have run a grand final on the Clarence before, 2015 when Liam Carruthers won.
Yep.
Tristan finished 3rd in that event.
There you go. And before I forget this, I think Tommy Slater from Daiwa was leading that event and choked up a storm.
Yeah, and I think Tom also won the qualifier the year that we had the grand final, so 2015.
So he's got a bit of form on that river as well. I'd be one to watch out for. Let's have a look at the other 3rd grand final winner. One shot, 1 kill back in 2009 on Sydney Harbour. But you know what? I'm not even pre-fishing for this event. I'm fishing in the Bass Grand Final, so I'll be coming for my first day on the river. Will be the first day of competition. I think it's basically going to be a write-off.
Well, you spent plenty of time on that system on all parts of the year, different times, whether it's autumn, winter, summer, whatever. You adapt pretty quickly. So, the fish are there, you'll find them.
It's interesting. How often do we say that our best day's fishing for the weekend was the practice day? I'm just going to
make the practice day and make it the first day of the tournament.
Exactly. So, Timon, run through that list. I want you to pick out a few people to watch out for. Remember, we've got also Mark Crompton, previous Australian Open champion, Jamie McEwen, previous Australian Open and Queensland Open champion, and Scott Sandilands and Blake O'Grady, who are the 2 most recent Queensland Open champions. It is even though not all the names are there and all of the previous grand final winners are there, it's a fairly talent-ridden field.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think we had 4 previous grand final champs. So we know those guys can win a tournament, and, when they're in position, they get that, that they get white line fever and that they can finish the job. Now, the anglers that I'm going to pick is very much influenced by how the Clarence usually fishes. Now, we know you can catch fish right throughout the system of the Clarence. You can go to Grafton and catch them on crankbaits. You can fish down the bottom near the walls at Yamba and get them deep. Generally, if you're going to get a check, you're going to have to fish deep water at the Clarence. There's exceptions to that, but the stats generally say you've got to fish deep. So for me, I would be looking for those deep water anglers. Tristan Taylor, he's my number 1 pick. Defending grand final champion, has finished 3rd place in the Granny in 2015. Has won events fishing deep water, like the Richmond, which is just a bit further up the road. Very good fishing deep. He's my number 1 pick. Other anglers within that sort of deep realm that I would look at, Mark Healy. He's one that does quite well. I would look at him as well too.
With the crank and crab, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's the other thing that we've got to talk about too, is that that grand final that we did in 2015, that was right at the start of the cranker arriving. And those crabs in those deep water, they just get those bigger fish. And, if you're going to win the grand final, I think you're going to have to get at least 3, possibly 3.5 kilos each day. So, I would be leaning towards those guys that, really excel on that deep water and especially with those crabs in their hands.
Good. So you've got to watch out for Mark Healy, Tristan Taylor. Who else in the field do you think might give it a shot?
I'm going to go for another Daiwa angler. I'm going to say Mark Crompton. As you mentioned before, he's won many events, including, the Oz Open in the past. He's a big event performer. So, we haven't seen much of Mark on the tournament trail since, of course, he became a father. But, when you put Mark in that boat in the start of a tournament, don't worry about what he's, how much time he spent on the water. He's going to be keen. So Cromo's definitely one I would be looking at. And there's a few other guys that have sort of started to appear on the scene since I moved on. Blake O'Grady, as you mentioned, he's really evolved as an angler. Scott Sanderlands is another one that I would be looking at too. So, my pick would be those deep water guys.
There you go. Awesome. Of course, summertime Clarence is typically a top water fish spread throughout the river, maybe a bit of a prawn bite going on. You think that those fish aren't going to be big enough to play?
I think you might get 1 or 2 quality fish in your bag from it, but I can't see you getting 5 big ones. But, we've had some water through the system with the flooding that we've had in northern New South Wales and southeast Queensland. So, that could push some of those bigger fish down onto those edges. You just never know. I guess the pre-fish might give us a bit of an idea of how it's going to play out.
Yeah, look, I'm really excited to see how it happens. It's a massive weekend for ABT with the 13 Fishing Bass Pro Grand Final, the Daiwa BREAM Grand Final, all in the one weekend. I'm going to be super happy to get the boats out of the garage here. I've had the beautiful boats, but I just want my boat to go back in there, and we're going to give those away next weekend. So, Simon, any final comments about the Grand Final before we let you go?
No, not really. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not as plugged in with tournament fishing as what I used to be because, I'm busy doing other stuff, but I still keep a finger on the pulse as to who's doing what.
No worries, Simon. Thanks for joining us tonight, mate, and we'll see you maybe at the Open next year.
Fingers crossed, mate. Take care.
Seeing the fish, their position, and how they respond in real time. That's game changing.
Thought we'd just reframe the camera here a little bit just so you can keep an eye on all the awesome prizes here we have for all of this for the winning non-boater in the 13 Fishing Bass Pro Grand Final next weekend. Just remember the last competition we've got on tonight here was the Daiwa Bait Junkies Name the Colour. There's some pretty interesting ones there. Nicole was having a look and a laugh through there. No, Glenn Starrick, it's not going to be called your name. But there we are there. We're going to, after the next segment, we'll reveal what Daiwa called it. We'll pick one of the exciting names that we think might be better than the Daiwa name to get a sample pack of those plastics. Now, these ABT anglers get these at the grand final. but these will subsequently be available in ABT member tackle stores. So, you know, your shops at the moment, 2021, guys like Brett Hyde, Ballina Bait and Tackle, Adam at fishing.com.au, Manning River Marine, all of those ABT tackle stores that look after us are going to get first access of these colours. Casino Outdoors. How can I forget Casino Outdoors, and maybe Aberdeen Bait and Tackle and guys like that too. I've looked after ABT over the years. Get looked after by Dyer on these, so get that in there. One AOY that has been decided this year is the BREAM Angler of the Year, won by Jamie McEwen, who has had a stellar year, winning things like the two-man team in the Flathead Classic. I think they won a badge on the Barra Tour and caught a whole shithole of BREAM. Let's hear from Jamie about how he thinks the grand final for the BREAM is going to go down on the Clarence. So here he is. We've got him in the studio. He's the 2021 Daiwa BREAM Series Angler of the Year, Jamie McEwen. Well done, mate.
Thanks, mate.
How does it feel to get it all done and dusted before the grand final? Because poor old Matty Langford in the Bass grand final's leading it, and he could lose it in the grand final.
Yeah, it was a good solid year I had this year. It's always been something that I wanted to tick off to be consistent throughout the whole year. So it was a big one for me to tick off.
Take us through the events this year. Like, for me, the most memorable one was the win at Lake Macquarie on Tarwine.
Yeah.
Using that Lowrance Active Target, catching those fish that literally no one else could catch. Take us through that.
Yeah, I spent the whole pre-fish day there. I caught a couple of good fish early, and I thought I'm going to put some time in here to sort them out. And I knew that the bite wasn't like a consistent bite all day. They seem to be a bit harder to catch. They don't sort of school up and eat as frequently as the yellowfin do there. But there was no yellowfin there. So yeah, I spent all pre-fish day there, and I thought I'm going to put all my eggs into this one basket. And
the Tarwine basket.
Yeah, and I stayed there and sorted it out on pre-fish day, where they were moving around and when they'd move around, and then spent the 2 days there on the Saturday and Sunday and got onto them.
Did you try and make that pattern work at all the rest of the arenas you fished?
The bridges on the Gold Coast this year were harder. I didn't really. That was probably my biggest mistake all year in a series, is I didn't put enough time into the front of the system at Foster. I went up the back on pre-fish day and found really good numbers of big fish, and they just disappeared overnight. And I think it was the difference in the tide just didn't get up high enough on the days that counted up there. So yeah, so I sort of missed the boat with that one.
Let's look at the four of your results that counted towards the AOY. You got 393 out of 400 points. So you had a win on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
Had a win on at Lake Macquarie.
Yep.
Gladstone, about a second or third?
Second, yep.
Second at Gladstone, and Foster?
Foster was like 14.
Foster was the weak one, but it was enough to get over the top of myself with 377 points and Tristan Taylor with 361 points. Theoretical situation, do you reckon you could win an AOY just fishing the biggest bridge at the mouth of a system?
Oh, I reckon you probably could.
I think you could.
Yeah. I reckon you could do that all year if every system had a bridge. So yeah, you could have a crack at that for sure.
Now, I haven't been to Clarence for a while, but I've driven over a second bridge, the highway bridge over at Harwood there now. So there's a couple of bridges. Don't know if you've ever fished that bridge, but I tried to film a crankbaiting segment there just after the bridge was made. Those bastards have put little bits of Rio coming out the side of the concrete. Just a warning for you, FYI. Yeah. Do you reckon that bridge is going to play in the grand final?
Mate, it could. I haven't fished Clarence for a long time, and I haven't fished there since the new bridge has been. I know I fished that bridge in the grand final there that Liam won, along with a lot of other guys, and that was only the original Harwood bridge. So it played a little bit there. I don't think anyone really caught big bags off of it, but it depends how the system is too when we get there. So,
well, we've had there's been a bit of rain in the last couple of weeks. It wasn't a flood, but it got pretty high going through Grafton there. Last time, if the audience remembers, we went to Grafton was for a bass event. There was a decent flood beforehand, and everyone was like, "The world's gonna die," and it was the most epic bass fishing we've ever had in an ABT event. I reckon I was weighmaster of that. I reckon I saw 50 bass over 1.5 kilos come over the scales. How do you think a little bit of fresh through the system, and it'll probably be settled down pretty much by the time we're there, how much is that going to affect the grand final fishing?
Mate, I don't, like it might, a few guys might have thought about going up towards Grafton and right up the upper reaches, and it might affect a little bit of the techniques and stuff. Like I was looking forward to throwing bent minnows for 2 days.
Yep.
But I don't think it's going to be as bad as what the doom and gloomers are making out. I think it'll still play up to McLean probably, and I'm sure we'll sort it out.
Well, I remember in that event back in April, I remember Nicole grabbed a rod and she was standing on the jetty where the bass starts and finishes were at Grafton, catching bream on blades in the floodwater. So
Yeah,
so they don't think they vacate the system. They just
everyone says, oh, they'll all push down to the front wall and that sort of thing. I don't think they're all just going to pack up and swim down to middle wall. I think they'll be throughout the system, and I think with our local systems, I know this time of year when we have a lot of fresh come through, it sort of produces a lot of prawn activity. So I think prawn activity will be a big thing to look for, and that's not going to be down around middle wall. They'll be up in the creeks, the mangroves.
Yep, they'll be pushing out of those areas. Last time you fished there, you say might have been for an ABT was the grand final in 2015. Browns Rocks played then.
Yep.
It might be setting up for Browns Rocks to play again with the big local fish that live on there.
Yeah, mate, that'll be a place where I'm sure we'll get plenty of attention. Middle wall, the walls at Iluka, all those sort of places will be heavily fished. And I think being the new format with only 2 days, you might be able to get 2 really good bags out of those sort of places and not have to worry about sort of nursing fish or other boats sort of creeping in and that sort of thing. So it should be good.
As Queenslanders, no Queenslanders, both in the bream or the bass, have been able to get down for a pre-fish. So we're stuck now, I suppose. Well, I'm stuck. I don't have any pre-fish because I'm fishing the bass grand final. But you've got to fish that whole river in 1 day.
Yeah.
It's a big system. How do you break down such a big system to work it out in a day?
For me, it will be fish the techniques that I know I'm good at. So I won't necessarily try and go and reinvent the wheel in the grand final pre-fish day. It'll be, fish what I like to fish. So I'll look for crab fishery, I'll look for bent minnows and cranks and that sort of thing.
And 140 mollicks.
Yeah.
There are barra down there.
There was a barra down there, yeah. So no, that's... I won't necessarily think, I've got to go up here and work out how to catch them up here. I'm just going to look for areas where I like to fish and places where I've done well before or caught fish before as well. So
this is your first AOY title that you've won.
Yep.
It's also the year you've partied the least. You've been famous for not turning up some nights until quite late from the pub. Is there a correlation between the two?
Oh, possibly. Yeah, possibly. Might have something to do with it, maybe. So, yeah, no, it's just been one of those years. I think you get to the point where you just want to put your head down and try and actually fish to your best ability. And it's been a good year with all throughout, like Flathead Classic and the Barra and the Bream, and so it's all sort of come together pretty good.
That's it. Let's talk a little bit about the Zerrick Barra Tour. You came up and fished with Blake, a couple of Bream guys. What was your team name? Bream Hooligans?
Bream Hooligans this year, yeah. No, that was it was good fun as always. Like it's more about sort of finishing the year off. All the guys up there are really good blokes, and it's a very social event. So you're staying with the guys, and you lots of banter and lots of talk and all that sort of stuff. So it's more about the fun that we have up there rather than catching loads of barra for us anyways. Well,
you guys put a lot of work in at Kinchin, did well at Kinchin.
Yep.
Maybe next year you do a lot of work at Faust.
Yeah. Kinchin's sort of the learning dam of the three, I reckon. And I was informed, wait till you get to a real barra dam like Faust, and that's how it worked out.
So the barra guys, they'll accept if you're a bream or a bass guy want to come up to the barra guys. They're actually quite good at accepting all of the people that catch the tiny fish into the circle of friends and have a couple of beers. It's all good.
In the fishing world, I think where us bream anglers are sort of looked at as the kids at the special school, and the barra guys are the ones that really know how to do it. So it's a bit of fun to get up there, and sometimes you give them a bit of a fright and challenge them a bit. So
yep,
that's the best thing about it. So.
I know Nicole's going to drop a few cutaways on top of this, but party night at the Barra Tour, getting quite famous for being a bit of an evening to get to. Yeah,
it's always fun up there. It's the boys are just I think they should be all called Barra hooligans really, but no, it's a good night. It's a good night. It's a social night, and there's no egos or anything like that. Everyone tells you what they've been doing and how they catch the fish, and it's good for someone like me just to go up there and listen to them and learn and all that sort of thing. So
that's right. They don't really believe in who shares wins, but they accidentally do it a lot.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's a huge amount of secrets with barra fishing. But yeah, it's a lot different to what we sort of experience in some other arenas sort of thing. So they're more than happy to tell you how they, rig their slick rigs and what they do here and what they do there and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's just an awesome event to go to.
Let's get back to the grand final. Coming up close now, and I know it's always exciting starting in the grand final, a bit higher than a normal event. Who are you going to be worried about when you're sitting on the starting line? Who are the people you think you're going to have to watch out for on the Clarence? There's a lot of the local guns that fish a fair bit sort of haven't qualified. So
yeah, mate, you go through the list. It may not be as big as a normal grand final list, but it's all quality. Well,
it's the same as the Gold Coast. I think there's only one boat difference between the Gold Coast and this one. So
it's mate, you've got a lot of guys there that have done well there previously. Like you've Mark Crompton, he's won there before. I think Tom Slater's won there before.
Yep.
Then you've got the likes of Mark Healy, yourself. Tristan Taylor's just seems to rock up anywhere and
he does well, doesn't he?
Catch the hell out of them. It might suit the people like Mark Sarek and Luke Rogan, and then you've got the guys from Queensland that are going down that fish a lot of the teams comps that they have down there. So it's not a given of who's going to win it. It's going to be really tight, especially over the different 2-day format. I think you'll see bags and total weights on the last day that'll be a lot closer than what we see with the 3-day tournament and shared weight sort of thing.
What do you think a good weight's going to be down there? Is it going to be 3 kilos a day good? 2.5 a day? 2 a day? What's going to be a good thing there?
Yeah, I think Clarence is still able to produce the 3 kilo a day, even with the fresh and stuff like that. I think I'll be happy to walk out there with 3 kilo a day because I think you'll probably need that and a bit more. So.
The BREAM Grand Final isn't an app-based tournament. You've come out of the Barra events where we've had an app-based tournament of live scoreboards, and we've done a few of these live events now. Is it sort of a shame that we're not going to see everyone's progress through the day on the app?
Yeah, mate, I quite like it, hey. I like the app-based tournaments. It's sort of, when you sort of get into that point of, I'm not going to sort of catch any more, and then you might put one in and you have a look at the leaderboard and it's like, wow, I'm only sort of a couple of centimetres off here.
A couple of bites off doing well here.
So then you put your head down and really try hard for the next hour or two sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's it can also work against you a bit sometimes. So,
play with your head?
Yeah, like the Australian Open this year. That sort of
oh, that's right. I wasn't going to remind you.
Deflated me a little bit at about 12:30 on the last day. So, so yeah, but yeah, no, it's I think it's a really good concept. I love it.
Tell us finally a little bit about what the future's got for you happening next year. Looks like the borders are going to open up. You're going to be able to work. Tell us about your work and about maybe some of your sponsors that you've got that have helped you.
Yeah, New Look Floors. I'm now installing New Look Floors between the New South Wales Queensland border and as far south as Grafton. So that's going to be me for work. So yeah, and Josh at Samaki, he's always been great to me. So I've been with Josh now, I reckon, since probably 2014 or something like that. So we've had a long-lasting relationship, mate, and I'm not interested in changing and going anywhere else. Everything he does by me is perfect, and his gear, as you'll see even in the Barra Tour, like he covers brim to barra, and he's nailing
He's kicking goals, and he's moved closer to you. He's only on the Gold Coast here now.
Mate, so. He's only at the Gold Coast now, so he's got some big plans coming through, and hopefully we'll get a chance to have some input into that now that he's a bit closer, and help with some design and production of the lures sort of thing. So
that's great. Well, I'm sure, like me, you're all interested to seeing the results of the BREAM Grand Final. We've got a couple of days on the water. We're going to have the cameras on the boats. We're going to have the highlights. We're going to have a live fish weigh-in at the McLean Showgrounds. It'll be broadcast each day with the scoreboards and everything. Be a big deal, and someone's going to walk away with that 463 Alucraft with the 90 Merc on the back. It's looking fantastic.
Yeah, I know Glenn Sturrock's taken a wad of cash to offer to buy it.
You reckon he's going to buy it straight away? Okay, well, we'll see what happens there. He's a bit of the trader in the area. Thanks for coming into the studio today, and we're ready to go. Bring the grand finals on.
you'll have the chance for showers or thunderstorms, and also little disturbances rumbling along this thing will bring us a chance for rain.
There you go. The Buck and Bass ad is pointing to something we're going to talk about soon. We've got some great specials coming in the tournament boat store coming soon. But just rewind a little bit, because in that last segment, I just want to know if you picked up the same thing that we picked up. Nicole, see if your technology can drop us to a 2 screen of that last interview. And who noticed Jamie's black board shorts and him wearing it look like a snakeskin bikini bottoms? Yeah, I can see it down there. Is that like a Superman thing where you got your undies on the outside and they just happen to be like fairly much looking like girls' panties? I don't know, Jamie. You might have to get in the comments below and tell us what's really going on. Or maybe show us a picture of the full body. Says, mate, that picture does not looking good. All right, back to the full shot, Nicole. Can't have Jamie on the show without having some sort of crack at him. He's a good sport, and they all love him from Barramundi down to BREAM. He's his team. What do they call them? BREAM hooligans. Got accepted by the Barra guys. They've written him off enough times now to take him in as one of their own. So we loved having Jamie on the Barra Tour this year. Let's talk about Buck and Bass. We've got some specials that we're running through on the tournament boat store until Christmas time, until the 24th of December. Let's run through what they are. It's a buy an item, get another item free. Now, it's premium stuff, the Buck and Bass. It's not cheap gear, but when you look at the water column ratings of most stuff out there, 15,000, 10,000, 20,000, Buck and Bass, 49,000 water collar rating, not going to leak on you. And it's going to be a wet summer, just saying. Let's drop to the specials. They're all code word specials you put into the checkout. You put in a Buck and Bass suit, and then you put in a shirt and a hat. Type in suit bonus, the hat and the shirt. Buck and Bass shirt worth about $200. They're free. Go to the next slide. That's how it works. You buy a Buck and Bass bibs and get a cap for free. So you put the bibs in the trolley, you put the hat in the trolley, you apply that code bibs bonus at the checkout, hat becomes free. That's how it works. And any of these we can deliver down at the Bass or the BREAM Grand Finals, or they're free freight. We can mail them to you wherever you are in Australia. So don't know if you want to, somehow tag the missus, tag the significant other in this. If you want some Buck and Bass for Christmas, this is the way to do it, because you get the free stuff. Next slide there is the special offer where you get buy just a rain jacket by itself, get the hat for free as well. So wear that waterproof cap with the 70-mile-an-hour hood, everything stays dry. The hat's got the waterproof coating on it. Jacket bonus is the code for that. Next slide is is if you want to try one of the Buck and Bass Delta shirts. I wear these all the time, absolutely love them. With that hood, you can cinch it down so that your hat and your sunnies stay on as you go on full speed in your bass boat. Only shirt I've got that can do that. And gives you great sun protection. So buy a shirt. They're $150 a shirt, but you get a $50 buff with them. So that's shirt bonus at the checkout. Buy the shirt, buy the buff. Shirt bonus gets you the buff for free. And last but not least, great launch in the middle of summer for Australia, the Buck and Bass Oroville jacket. But we did wear it a little bit at the Barra Tour in the nighttime sessions. They're made of the polyester feel, packed down really, really tightly. Great to wear under the Buck and Bass jackets, or they're very windproof, so you can just wear them on a cool evening. Buy one of the Oroville jackets for $400, get a free buff with it. Puffer bonus is the code for that one. So that's how it works. Put all those items in the cart, hit the thing, hit that code in the checkout, and you get the free items there. Available till 24th, and we can deliver it at the grand finals. But I know that everyone's hanging around for the comp winners. We had some great entries tonight. People watching from all over Australia, although on Facebook, the Pro Lure pack goes to Rodney O'Sullivan, who gave us the latitude and longitude of where he was watching from, which he says, Tari, but when we typed it in, I think it was the male brothel, although that might have been Glenn Starrick's tip. YouTube, Nathan Dowling from Ballarat in Victoria. You've won yourself a Pro Lure pack, and thanks for tuning in from down in Victoria. The Bait Junkies, pretty interesting names, and I was watching Nicole giggling through lots of those ones there. Brian and Fiona Wiltshire on Facebook, you called it not motor oil. We like that. Get yourself a half a dozen packs of Bait Junkies as a sample there. And Liquid Existence on YouTube called it orange ouzo. I don't know if that's because Nicole wants a drink, but hey, that's the winning one from YouTube. So Liquid Existence, send us a message on Facebook and tell us who and where you are. Brian Wiltshire, I'm pretty sure we got you on the ABT database. Rod O'Sullivan, well, we know exactly where you are. And Nathan Dowling, maybe if you're not an ABT member, can you send us a message on Facebook and we can get your address, send that gear out to you tomorrow, and you should have it at about the same time the competitors are getting that stuff in the grand final. I think we're about done for tonight, Nicole. Oh, you got a hand up?
What's the real name of the colour?
Oh, yeah. What is the real name of the colour? I know you've been hanging to play these ones, so let's show you what the real name of the colour is. It is, see that? Skin Shrimp, UV. So no one actually guessed the real name, Skin Shrimp. How close can I get before it gets out of focus? There you go. Skin Shrimp, 8 pieces, about $11 normally at the tackle stores. Well done, Daiwa team. Looks great. They've got actually more of these Daiwa special ABT colours coming out for the events next year. If you go to one of those Daiwa sponsored events or one of the events that they look you after, everyone's going to get a packet of those or multiple packets of those Bait Junkies. So great to see and great support from the naming sponsor of our BREAM series. Any more questions in the crowd? That's a no.
Jamie says stop looking at his balls.
Jamie says stop looking at your balls. Okay, fair call. I'm going to stop. I'm going to delete the video, although you can find it on YouTube and Facebook afterwards. Every week we run what's called the Room Clearer. This week it's something you probably have all seen before because I shared the absolute crap out of it. It's how we set up our Garmin live scopes to catch barra and some live scope footage of barramundi hitting, rejecting, hooking up, breaking off, all that sort of stuff on the Garmin live scope. This will clear the room and we're going to catch all of y'all at the grand finals.
G'day, Steve Morgan here, Fishing Monthly Magazines. We got 1 day left on the 2021 Xeric Barra Tour. And that's a part of the Xeric Barra series, which is 6 events all through the year. Some really cool stuff's been happening for me on Barra Tour this year because I've really learned how to use my Garmin live scopes, and particularly the perspective mode, which is the mode that doesn't look forward at the fish, it looks sideways in a 180-degree arc about 20 feet down. Now I've got some really cool recordings of the footage to show you, but let's first go through a little bit of the technique that's been working for me this trip. And let me preface this by saying that Tommy Wood from Team Sunshine and Coast Marine Electrical Doctor, we did a video on this at the Australian Open, and he taught me how to use these Samaki Redick lures. The number one tip that he gave me was you've got to work them slow. And with the live scope combined with this technique, we've really got an insight into how the barra behave and actually how slow they like it. And you'll see that on the clip soon. Fish the Redick and also fish the Daiwa double clutch. That's the Barra Tune double clutch. Fish them on braided line and either a fluorocarbon or a mono leader. There's 50-pound Wilson FC there. There's 55-pound Schneider mono there. So the mono gets it shallower. This one goes only 4 to 5 feet. The fluorocarbon gets it deeper. That can get down 12 to 15 feet if I work it slow enough. But the money shot, it's always on the Garmin system. So I've got 2 Garmin live scopes in my boat. Got 2 of the black boxes sitting under the deck. Front one I have set to perspective mode, sitting 60 feet out. So I look at a 60-foot casting radius around. The second one I set to forward view, and again 60 feet it looks out. And I fish basically a lot of middle of nowhere spots. If I can see a barra on the live scope, I can cast at it and sometimes catch it, and that's cool for me. Broom fishermen don't like sitting in the one spot. We like roaming around. The advantage of having 2 live scopes and 2 black boxes is when you have this Garmin perspective mount on your system, and I run mine on my Garmin Force, it takes a long time to pull the motor up, swap that around, twist it around, get it right, put it back down, and then do about 6 or 8 button keys to swap the view over. So I have 2 of these. I've one mounted here on the shaft of the Force, and then the second one, the one in forward view, mounts on the armature of the Force. Now I can plug both of those live scope boxes into the one unit if I like and hit 2 buttons, touchscreen bang, and I can swap views, or I can use the second unit, and I still haven't got the best system for that. What I'm going to try next is actually perspective view forward and back with them mounted on both sides of the trolling motor to see if I can get that 360 degree but 360 live view. But enough of that, let's have a look at some of the clips that I took the other night. Biggest barra was 114 centimetres, and that's the first one you're going to see here. So here we go, 41 feet of water. You can clearly see the barra about 30 feet out on the right hand side, and my jerkbait just to the left of it. There you go, the barra turns on the jerkbait, and while it's looking at the jerkbait, do not move it. It's sitting there. I thought it ate it here, but it didn't. Does a lap on the jerkbait. You can still see the jerkbait sitting there, a little twitch while it's going the other way, and then the fish comes and turns back on it. A little twitch, and it's just out of sight of the pan optics when it jumps on. See what happens when it hooks up. And that's the fish coming to the surface and jumping. It shows itself as a 114 centimetre fish. How cool is that? 50 foot of water amongst some sunken trees. You can target individual fish on a tiny jerkbait. Now, one of the reasons I like targeting these barra in deeper water, again 53 feet of water here, is it's not cluttered at the bottom. You can't see the bottom in the background. There's no shadows being cast. All you can see is that big return of one fish. Check it, reject the jerkbait here. Swims right past it, does not want a bar of it. You don't catch every fish with this technique, but the ones you do catch are bloody awesome. Now here's another situation, a fish heading away from the boat, and I throw the jerkbait in front of it, and I just try to make that jerkbait meet the fish. So here it is, it stops and it turns on it, charges it, has a bit of a look, charges it again, hits the jerkbait and doesn't hook up. Bang, there it is hitting it, and you can see that little boof of air gone, that fish. He not coming back. And finally, the behaviour you see from multiple barramundi is pretty cool. There's 4 or 5 fish here that have come up and they've had a look at the hydrowave, but they're sort of in travelling mode. You can see them daisy chaining away here. They're just following each other tail to tail. Whenever I've found like 5 fish in a line like this, I haven't been able to tempt them to the jerkbait at all, and I've followed these things for a long way around the lake trying to get them to eat. They get in this mode where they're sort of reacting to each other, but they're not feeding, and I've found that the individual or 2 fish together are easier to target. Often they'll change direction like that, and you just have to write it off as a cool experience.